Okay, let's get creative. It's Christmas time, gift giving time, and we want to be able to give gifts that are meaningful and fun and magical for our friends and our family. So I want to show you today some very tiny paintings that I've done. These are only 3 by 2 inches big, okay? And they're very, very simple to do. I wanted to show you some ideas of ways that you can create your own Christmas gifts without it breaking the bank, and make it meaningful and fun gifts for your family and for your friends. So let me just pull these aside and show you. These are the little frames that I have gotten. They each have a mat, and they're $2 and $3 each. I found these, I believe, at a home goods store or maybe a TJ Maxx or something like that. I'm always out looking for frames for my artwork wherever I go, so I'm always got this nice little collection of frames. So these frames are readily available, and you can get them anywhere or get any small frame. When you put one of these paintings into a frame, you see how it really changes it. It really makes it a fun gift to give. And it takes so little time to frame them. You just you flip them over to the back and slide the little brad into the slot, and you have a nicely framed little painting. Now, this can be put on a desk, or if your friend or family wants to, they can put a little sticky thing on the back to make it so it would hang. But these are so tiny and so friendly, and they act as a nice reminder to people how much you love them. Now, I've done several of these for friends this year, and some of them, like I did the apples because I have a friend who has an orchard, and I thought that would be a very meaningful gift. I have another friend who's a woodworker, so I'm doing trees for him. And then I have another friend who just loves to garden. She grows lots of her own food, and so I did some pears for her. So let me just show you how I started this project, and we can get going on it. Now, I do these with the watercolor, they're like postcard size. Let me see, they're 4 by 6s. And you open it up, and it's a block of watercolor paper. And the first thing I do is go and take my little mat, and I want to draw an outline onto the paper. I get 2 paintings per piece of paper here. So I move that there, and then I move it over to here and do the same thing here. And I really think about the person that I'm giving the gift to. Really, everybody loves food, so you can always do, a still life of an apple or pear or orange or whatever you like, or the trees. So today, let me just show you doing a pear. Okay, on this side, we're going to just very gently draw the pear. We're going to make it nice and simple and light, okay? And we're going to give that pear a nice little stem coming out of it, because that really gives a pear personality, is where that stem is pointing. Now you see how I have that very simple drawing, and that's what it all starts with. And then I get out my watercolor paints, and I'm using the paints that I recommend to you in the Artist in a Bag video that I did, and go back and look up that video, because that's a really fun video to look at. It gives all the art supplies you need to get started on your creative life, and you put it all in a bag. So let me just start with a nice light color, and I'm going to just kind of fill this with a little bit of make it full of water, so that it'll take all the other colors really nicely. Okay, and I also like to leave a little white spot someplace on fruit because that shows where the light is. And I like to establish that I've got one side that's not in a lot of light, and so it'll have more of a shadow to it. And of course the pear always has that nice big round spot. And it very easily turns into a sweet painting with lots of different. I'm going to put some yellow in here because yellow just makes these things vibrate. They just make it so like it's full of light. So I have some nice bright yellow in here. I'll put a little up here. And blend it in nicely. Okay, so the pear has been pretty much defined by the color. I'm going to make a nice little stem. So here's the stem that comes out. And of course, because the light is coming from this side and coming directly at it, I want to make this side of the stem just a little bit darker. And I'll be able to kind of play with that a little bit once I get into my ink. But I like to give it just a tiny, tiny bit of a hint of a little darker color underneath because it kind of just makes it a little more believable. Plus, you like to get a nice contrast going in your paintings. Now I want to do the background of the painting, and so I use a little bit larger brush. And let's draw our horizon line in, or let's say the end of the table. And let's do some nice, let's do a blue, kind of a blue for this side, because this is where the shadow is. Okay, and then you want to take the rest and make it a much paler gray, because you want to see the difference. You want to make that into a shadow. All right, so that's pretty simple right there. Now you want to go up here and you want to make a nice background. I kind of like a dark background because it makes them pop a little bit. Or sometimes I'll do, if it's a dark color for the subject, I do a lighter background. But you know, pretty much any background works. Let me get this a little bit, a little more. And I want some more blue in this because I don't like it to be quite as much the same as the, there we go. I don't want the background to match the, where the table that the pear is sitting on. Okay. And get it up close to your subject, but make sure you just kind of keep it nice, a nice loose feel to it. All right, and you see that this really is not taking very long to do. Excuse me. Okay, so now I have a nice beginning to my pear, and as soon as I let this dry, I am going to add some flicks of paint to it because I kind of like the energy that gives it. So let's let this dry for just a minute, and I think what I'd like to do is add some kind of dark splatters a little bit, just because it's fun. Now this is how you splatter. You just, oops, don't worry, you can't really hurt it. You just kind of give a little splatter to it. I'm going to take a little Q-tip and I'm going to unsplatter that, but that's no problem at all because I can add some of these like this, and it just like makes it part of the pear itself. And then I want to take my pen, and this is when the fun begins, because now I have a beginning of the pear. But now I'm going to give it a little bit of a outline. I don't want this line to be too perfect. And that's good, right? And I'm going to just give this a little bit. Okay, now do you see how I've done the line? I've got the outline of the pear. I've got the nice line going across from the back part of the table. Now I'm going to really begin to add the scribbly part. And this is kind of the fun part of the whole thing to me, is really just kind of jazzing it up, loosening it up entirely, giving it a little bit of pizzazz. All right, and then I'm going to take another pen, and this is a gold pen. It's a gold Uniball pen, and I'm going to just add some of the sparkles of that to it too. And when the sun shines or there's light on it, it's really takes on a beautiful, beautiful light all its own. Okay, this is a white Uniball pen. I love the Uniballs. They're a lot of fun. And then I'm going to look at it and say, okay, now what this painting needs is some contrast. And you bring contrast into a work, still life work, by giving it shadow. So I want to add some nice shadowing to this pear. So I'm going to just take this side like this, and I'm going to add just a little bit, kind of bring it in like this. I'm going to add a little bit to this so it looks like it's got some light dancing on it, and that really helps the composition a lot. I want to make this even a little more pronounced, because that'll really make it pop in a nice way. Okay, so you've got this like dark shadow, and you have the pear, the shadow of the pear, and it's up against the pear. It's giving it a lot more life and a lot more light. The pear through here looks very, very yellow. It doesn't on my paper, but let me bring that yellow down a little bit, because I want it to be have a little more of a green pigment in it. So I'm going to mix a nice pigment of green and just start to add that as a layer on top. Because pears are not, I mean, some of them can get a little yellowy, but I like to have just a little more definition. And when you're adding these colors to it, it just adds layers and layers, and really starts to bring it alive. So this is very simple, very quick. I'll still mess with this. I'll still play around with this. I'll add some more flicks to it. I'll take my different pens, and I'll add some nice little dots and things to it, because that can just kind of add excitement to it. And you know, then I have a nice gift to give. So easy to frame it. You just put your mat over it, and you decide what color frame you want. But I think this would look great with black, because it's got black in it, and it's got that nice black. But you can also do it in a gold frame. You decide. It's your work. I just want to say, always be sure to sign your work, because anyone who gets original artwork really, really loves to have it signed. And this is the little signature thing that I use to sign my work, and it's my J for Jan, C for Croteau, and I make an H by adding the line across. Okay, so there is my painting, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you like it, subscribe. I've got tons more ideas where this came from. And please enjoy yourself. Make this Christmas a creative Christmas. Have a good time doing it. Turn your Christmas into an art. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk again soon.